feminist women.
Mulheres feministas.
زنان فمینیست.
Vanyu vachikonzero chevakadzi.
نساء.
Mujeres feministas.
Young Femini, Femme Activiste.
Good afternoon, listeners. I'm Margot Okazawa-Ray, your host. Today you have the great chance to listen to two Black German feminist musicians, Oihane Roach and King Josephine. This interview was recorded for my International Women's Day program, but I thought it would be a good chance for others of you to hear Oihane and King Josephine. Please listen. I'm starting with a question for you all. When was the last time you heard music written and sung by Black European musicians living in Germany? That's a very specific location, isn't it? So what do you know about them? Their histories and life experiences, their place in local, national, and global music scene. If you're ready to add to what you already know or learned for the first time, you're in the right place. My guests today are musicians extraordinaire, Oihane Roach and King Josephine. Oihane Roach is a Berlin-based singer-songwriter crafting pop soul and indie folk with a warm voice and poetic lyrics that explore themes of transgenerational healing, community, and love. She is known for her dynamic use of loop machine in live performances. In 2025, she released her EP, The Revolution Starts in Our Hearts, and her new single, Goodbye, dropped on the 20th of February this year, and a new EP will be arriving this spring. You can listen to Goodbye exclusively out on Bandcamp. Before I introduce my second guest, King Josephine, let me introduce you first to a song performed by Oihane Roach, Sisters.
I hear precious words, tell me your story. I'll be listening to your dreams and worries. They spawn this earth and trees, and like a mirror, sister, you reflect it all back to me. If you need me, just know you can always call. I'm here to witness you grow, hold you when you fall. Sister, I've got your back. Sister, I've got you. I'll be a silent space where you can rest your head. Blue room with fireplace, I trust you. It's easy to be real with you, my sister, and to share how I feel with you. And if you need me, just know you can always call. I'm here to witness you grow, hold you when you fall. Sister, I got your back. Sister, ooh. Sister, I've got you.
That was Oihane Roach, her song Sisters. King Josephine is an independent autodidact composer, multi-instrumentalist, singer, and songwriter originally from Amsterdam and based in Berlin since 2009. Her music seamlessly blends genres like pop, soul, blues, and R&B. Collaborating with drummer and co-producer Giancarlo Mura, King Josephine released her debut EP Note to Self in March of last year. It's a neo-soul expedition coupled with robust drum beats, which reflects on her journey tackling topics like Black and queer identity, mental health, self-love, and loss. Take a listen to her song, Note to Self.
I've been beating myself and it's me versus me in this battle. Sitting up, laying down, walking around, flipping through all the channels. I've been wondering some days why I live life this way. I just follow my script and the sadness it gets as I ruminate. So here's a note to self with love. Hey, you gotta try some more. Never stop, no. I understand it now. I'm sadder, wiser. You gotta try some more. Never stop, no. I understand it now. You gotta try some more. You gotta try some more. Another great day in the South-Bash parade that masquerades as pity party. It betrays my shame in a certain way. Do I overstate? Oh, hardly. So what to do, how to change? Cause the bad things linger the longest. These affirmations better work for me, and I'll be sure to make them perky. Well, hey, you gotta try some more. Never stop, no. I understand it now. Well, hey, you gotta try some more. Never stop, no. I understand it now. And since woken up, I'm definitely more broken, but being so stressed, obsessed with what you might think of me, and oh, I am killing me, you see. I defeated finally. Even if breathe, I can feel joy and breathe. Turn out wiser. Let the days be brighter. Understand it now. Gotta try now. Never stop now. I understand now. And I turn out wiser. Try now. Let the days be brighter. Stand now. I turned out wiser. Let the days be brighter.
Josephine, note to self. Oihane Roach and King Josephine, I'm so excited to listen to your music and be in conversation with you today about the music and about you. Thank you for being with us. Oihane, since I met you first, why don't you start by telling us who you are? What do you want my listeners to know about you?
So I was born and raised in Hamburg in Germany. So it's in the north. I moved to Berlin, I think around 10 years ago, because I thought, oh, there's a big music scene here and I want to do more music. Yeah, I didn't study it. I just always loved to write songs. And I started early, like in my teens, when I learned English better in school. I started writing English songs and composing with my piano, and I started going to singer-songwriter slams and stuff like that in Hamburg. So I've been doing music for a long time, like as a hobby. And then when I moved to Berlin, I was a little bit more like, oh, I really want to, play live more and get to know other musicians and get started. So I started a band with a friend who was a drummer and another friend who was a cellist. And I played with them for some time. It was always like more cozy, small places. And then I got to know Joey. We actually met because I moved into the shared flat. It was a huge shared flat, and I always heard Joey play piano and sing, and I found it so inspiring. So that was my start in Berlin and doing music more seriously.
Joey, what about you? What is your story?
I was born and raised in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and my mom is from Germany actually originally, and she moved in the 80s there. And I guess we switched because now I live in Berlin since 16 years. I always played music. I just wanted to do film. I came to Berlin because I wanted to study film and be a director, and that was kind of what I had my mind set up since I was a kid. I went to this autodidact, self-organized film school, very, very Berlin, very on brand, that started in the early 2000s here. And I was accepted in 2010, just shortly after I moved here. I did the whole thing. I did the short film thing for a bit, and I liked it, but I also didn't really get it off the floor rolling. I say I would always work in like in bars and in cafes and clubs. So I was doing that to pay the bills, and I also made my own music, but not so serious actually. Not like, I'm always a bit envious when I hear people like Oihane talk like if you've really done it for like a good decade and even before. And I just had everything in like, oh, film, it's gonna be film. And then I worked at some point for many years in the karaoke bar where I lived not so far from where actually my stage name King Josephine was born. And really, really had to admit to myself that being on stage was actually where I want to be. I did that as a kid, like in school plays, I was always on a stage. It sounds a bit weird to say, but yeah, I was always on a stage. And I liked it there. Then I met Giancarlo there, my co-producer, and he's also the drummer I've been working with since almost a decade now. He kind of approached me after singing and was like, maybe we should talk. And then we did, and then we just started to work together, which was also just me and him for the good period of time, just in his studio, just jamming a bit. And even though at that point I had decided to not continue with film, at least not as my main thing, because I definitely couldn't do both film and music. I mean, you have to give every percentage you have to one of them. I kind of really made that decision like, okay, I'm going to leave film, which was not so easy because I think I was 8. Then I was like, I wanted to be an actor, and then I wanted to be a director. And so I had put everything on that and went to film school, and then you kind of have to start all over again. And it was great to be in a karaoke bar because you get a lot of feedback, but it's also karaoke, and of course it's something else if you make your own stuff. That's the thing about music scene. I mean, I've technically been in it since almost 3 years now. Because I didn't release anything before, that doesn't mean that I wasn't a musician before, but I definitely didn't take it as goal orientated maybe as like 5 years ago when me and Giancarlo really were okay, let's invest and produce the first 2 singles ourselves and go for it.
So, Oihane, you've always wanted to be a musician, and certainly your lyrics suggest that you're also a poet. Beautiful lyrics. Actually, both of you. You said in the beginning about you learned English, could speak English better. So, why does that matter? Why not record in German or another language you may speak? Both of you, actually, your songs are sung in English.
A good question. I don't really have an answer why. I have a few ideas. So I think that my music taste and what I was listening to when I was younger was a lot formed by US music as well. Like I was a typical teen, like I was listening to boy bands and
Okay,
Britney Spears and
okay,
stuff
Britney
like that.
Spears. Who were your
Yes,
favorites? Britney Spears?
I liked Westlife for some time, but also like from my mother, she was listening to Tracy Chapman and also
Uh-huh.
to jazz music and stuff. So it was a mix of her taste and my taste. But I also have a relationship to British English somehow, I guess, because my father's from England, his parents are from Jamaica, and they came with the Windrush. They came to England, so I always like the tone, I guess, the sound of that language, and I feel it's my emotional language more than German.
And that emotional language really is very important, isn't it?
Mm.
Joey, why are you singing, as far
I
as I know,
think
mostly in English?
definitely, yeah, yeah. I think it's similar. So I think it's one thing is also like I grew up with only my mom, and she didn't ever really play German music or Dutch music for that matter. So I think I heard a lot of course I heard it. I mean, I know the classic German Schlager, and I know the folk song. I don't know how to say it, like the folklore in Holland. And it wasn't really mine because I think my mom being like, I mean, of course, it might sound weird if you're from the US because Europe is so much smaller and these countries in there are so little actually. But they're very, very different in culture, and so even though they're next to each other, these languages and these countries are very, very different. And so I didn't really grew up in a Dutch household. If I grew up in a German household, but in the Netherlands. And my mom listened to also, it was Tracy Chapman, but it was also the Beatles. It was a lot of salsa. It was a lot of classic.
Right.
And so I would say it was very eclectic in what I listened to and what I liked. I had my personal cassettes and my Walkman, and I would listen I had like a few cassettes. And so you listen to them all and, over and over again because it was before digital stuff. And I had one from Nana Cherry. I like Hunger is one of these albums that I just listened to on repeat since I was a very small child. And obviously, all of these things have an influence. I do think that jazz, both really like the classics. I mean, Ella, Billy, Aretha later, and then Duke, all of them. It's very, very US orientated because I think that's also the reality of, European teens or kids. I mean, we grow up with that music a lot, I would say, also because of television. And so obviously I also definitely like Oihane listened to all the pop. I mean, MTV was on all the time and it was a lot of R&B coming over that I was listening to. TLC, Destiny Child. I mean, that was definitely Oh, I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it. Uh,
I am
Alicia Keys
laughing
was coming
because,
out. She was my star.
Alicia Key, my
Alicia
star
Keys
too.
was my
Yes.
hero. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, that was
Still
absolutely
number
my
one,
hero.
eh?
Yeah.
I
Well,
am
yeah, because
laughing.
nostalgic, like, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's really like, I mean, it's this thing where I think not everyone realizes that it's such a dominant culture, the US culture, for obviously better and for worse. But it has brought us a lot of great music, but that's also because that's what I just grew up on that, specifically the 60s. I love every genre I can find. I love maybe metal is not my thing. Punk rock is not really my thing, but even in punk rock, I can find something I like. The most endorphins I get like from Motown. Somehow that was the thing
Now
that's
you're
the genre I'm
talking.
like,
Now you're talking. That's my
that's my thing.
generation.
Yeah, yeah. It's for me, that's the sweet spot. Even though it's not really what I do think it has influences in there, definitely in my head. And if I listen now to old Motown stuff, I can hear like, oh yeah, I can see why I make music the way I do. It's just not as, I'm not making Motown, but that's that's my absolute love, Motown. Yeah.
Both of you have been heavily influenced by US pop culture,
Yeah.
particularly the genres that you described. You know, somebody like Tracy Chapman, for example, and all the Motown folks had a big influence on us. In my generation, especially the Motown, and I hear lots of younger generation folks listening to Motown. There was something about the quality of their music, voice was pure.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt, that's how I feel when I'm listening to your music, both of you. There's pure quality of your voice and it's
Big
very
compliment. Thank you.
simple. There's not a lot of instruments in the background. It's just you. It's also interesting to, as you said, know the dominant influence of US pop culture. To my chagrin, I'm not happy about that. But
Oh,
Motown, okay.
yeah, yeah, I'm very grateful for that
And
coming
Tracy
over.
Chapman, yeah.
And also still like doing its thing. Even, I obviously didn't grow up in the Motown era, but it was definitely part of my upbringing because of my mom, I guess.
Mhm,
But I definitely also would agree, like, it's not necessarily a good thing that it's so dominant for many reasons, but also in terms of music, I do, even though it was quite worldly, I would say, what was at home. Of course, like there's so many, I don't know, even just musical scales that are so different to me that I would really have to train my ear. The musical scale is different, which is fascinating. And it really changes your perception of what is music or musical, maybe better said, to you or
mhm,
not. So
mhm.
I think that's fascinating. But
Wow, I'm just so thrilled how much I'm learning about music. I'm only a listener. I'm not a maker of music at all. You're playing live, fully, mostly.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And you have recorded releases. Oh, Oihane, you had a couple last year. You have one coming out next week, in fact. Joey, I think you also have releases from the past, and I'm sure you'll have more forthcoming.
Yes,
So,
it's a plan.
yes, I hope so. And I'll do my part to promote it. I think
Thank
this
you.
radio program
Thank
can
you.
help with that.
Thank you.
So I've listened to all the songs you send me the links to, and they're all very atmospheric. They evoke lots of feelings. Some of it seems melancholy, some of it seems sad. Take a listen to Oihane Roach's Waves of Water. What emotions does this song evoke in you?
In my garden, I searched for light. Asked the plants where to find it. Couldn't hear it first, cause the snakes were too loud. When I listened closer, they said, go to the house. I went to the house up the stairs, searched for a window. Assumed there would be light shining and bright. Outside the window were only the clouds in the way. So I sat with the clouds. Then I saw the waves of water, water like tears. And I asked, what's all that sadness about? Then I saw the waves of water, and I knew they belonged to gone were the clouds. There was light in my house. Seems this house has been empty for years. All dusty furniture. Now the sun is coming in brightly. Long enough it's been a home to someone else's grief. I got light inside my house. Through the window I see the clouds have passed. The plants they smile. The snakes are silent. Cause I found truth inside of me.
Talk to us now about how you make your music. It's underneath the lyric, the sound. What inspires you to make the kind of music you make? Some is heartbreak. All
Some is
that.
heartbreak, yeah.
Oh yeah, over to you.
Sometimes I wonder if it's also living in Berlin.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I've heard that about Berlin. It's a kind of melancholy heartbreak place.
The non-committal
Yes,
non-committal types
situationship,
live.
the non-commitment to relationships. Talk to
Mm.
us. How do you write the music? What are you feeling when you're writing? What inspires you, Oyane?
Yeah. I don't want to hold on to that narrative or that belief that you only make good music when you have heartbreak, when
Please don't.
that you only are inspired. Like I also wrote songs about other things, like being inspired and feeling alive because of community. And I also wrote in the EP that I brought out last year, there's also a song about freedom. It's a freedom hymn, actually, that suits different situations and different movements as well. And it was important for me also to write something like that. So I mostly get inspired, I think, by my own processes. And sometimes the best songs, like what I consider my best songs, are those that don't come from having a concept before or being like, oh, I want to write about this or that. But it's rather like really being in the feelings, and then it kind of comes to me like as if I'm channeling it or something. So yeah, I think. And then I'm out of that zone again, and then I'm like, but the song isn't ready. So then I'm trying to stay in that zone, not to put my mind in this process too much, but just really be open to what's coming in.
Right.
Sometimes it takes a few sessions.
Sounds like you're the channel through which the words and the music comes through you.
Yeah, it's accurate. I think so. Sometimes I get stuck because sometimes it would just be the first verse and the chorus, and then
For the songs to come through you, you also have to be still in a way, don't you?
yeah. And I think that's sometimes the tension I'm moving in, because Berlin is such a loud place for me. And it takes a lot of energy to actually center myself and to go to those spaces to listen and to hear what's coming.
Joey, what about you? How do you create your music?
First, what comes to me is the music itself. I always find lyrics actually the hardest part. Even though I agree with Oihane, for me, it's also that English has become my emotional language, or at least as well. And I think because what the feeling is when I sing those melodies, I even know melodically what I want to do. So I then play the melody that is in my head, and then I obsess about it. If I am in a zone, that is definitely where I have to be, but I'm not always. But if you are lucky enough to be in one of those zones, then for me, it's music and finding harmonies. Like Oihane, I'm a big fan of different harmonies. So I definitely couldn't, I think, make a song with just one harmony. That's just not enough for me, I think. I'm always seeking for harmonies. And so I make them on the piano, I make them on the ukulele, I make them in my head. And then I just sing fake English. And that is, for me, the easiest thing to find and the most fun part, because I can play. And then I listen to those sounds often. And actually, sometimes I find the words then, because I know what I want to say. It's almost like you can't reach it. Like you feel it, but you can't completely reach it and find everything. And then I do all these fake vowels. English has become my emotional language as well. I don't really read. I'm dyslexic also. So I'm a very big fan of audiobooks and podcasts and voice notes, as Oihane knows, as my friend. I have to search for the words. The music is, for me, the easiest thing to find and the most fun part, because I can play and find everything. And then I do all these fake vowels. And then I'm like, that's how I have to sing. I have to sing exactly in this rhythm with this melody, ending on that note when I play this chord. But then when you really have to find the words, because I'm not scatting, I'm not making a scat song, I then listen, and then those words sometimes come because of the vowels, because maybe I've said something like blah, 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 stay. Okay, staying. Okay, probably another love song. And then I'm finding the words. And sometimes you have to obviously kill your darlings. And then I really had a perfect melodic rhythm that I wanted to sing there, but the words don't fit into. Then now when I am in the final stage, usually for me, the final stage of making the lyrics, I have to make some compromises, because the perfect melodic rhythm does not fit.
You're listening to International Women's Day 2026 programming on KPFA Radio. I'm Margot Okasawa-Ray, in conversation with Afro-German musicians Oihane Roach and King Josephine. Please continue to listen.
You can choose to do me, he, or you can choose to make a different melody from it. And sometimes I keep it, And then I surprise myself, and the word that I now found that is the right word is actually better than the original one. That's the best part. But I also often have to be like, okay, sometimes I listen to the old demos of the songs that I've now released, and I listen to the old parts that were melodically different, rhythm-wise, of what I fake sang, and I like it better.
I've learned a new concept, fake singing. I'm exhausted just hearing how you go back and forth.
Yeah, it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of back and forth.
So let's listen to one of your fake sung songs.
I have the feeling that lately I've been dreaming when all I wanna do is be with you. But you don't see me, got better things to deal with. Guessing kissing isn't on your to-do list. And we've been walking, done nothing else but talking, making yearning really feel like hell. Oh well, ashamed to say this, but thinking you were in this it justified me liking your pictures. It was bliss, sweet craving. It's hard to leave this feeling when all I wanna do is be with you. All I wanna do is be with. Sweet craving. It's hard to leave this feeling when I hear you introduce me. That's a friend of mine. It hurts. That's a friend of mine. So in conclusion, my stupid confusion was all I really needed to destruct myself. Cause when I came to see you play and hope for more but was afraid, you walked away at the door. Inside I'm screaming, well, what a lovely evening. Sweet craving, it's hard to leave this feeling when all I wanna do is be with you. All I wanna do is be with. Sweet craving, it's hard to leave this feeling. All I wanna do is be with you. You know that I'll be by your side. Swallow my pride. You know that I need to just clarify. Even though you're mixed vibes, leave me unsatisfied. I want you to. Sweet craving, it's hard to leave this feeling. All I wanna do is be with you. Sweet craving, it's hard to leave this feeling. All I wanna do is be with you. That's a friend of mine. Sweet craving, of mine. Sweet craving, of mine. Sweet craving, it's hard to leave this feeling when all I wanna do is be with you. Craving, of mine. Sweet craving, it's hard to leave this feeling when all I wanna do is be with you.
But it's only been, quote unquote, 2.5 years that I've released stuff with your own music, which is a very different and scary process. And so I feel super green and I have a lot to say. And so it's a very weird tension. Now I have to find a routine that is quicker than 9 years, because it basically took me 9 years to make an EP of 6 songs. I could do it again. I don't want to do it again. I kind of want to continue now, right? But it's been a bit of a search. I've been now in the process of several months to write new music, and I'm half doing it, not yet in the way I would like to, because yeah, like we said before, and like Oihane said, you have to really get into a zone, and that also means forcing yourself. And that means saying no to a lot of people that you love and miss, saying no to a lot of events that you might want to go to, and having to really be your own boss, but also having to accept jobs because you also have to pay your rent. And then forever tension of not having enough time to make your stuff, but you need time for that. So you're gonna make time, but then means you don't have enough money. And that's the general circle of being an artist, I guess.
And Oihane, I know your day job is working in a gallery. How does working in a gallery you think about your music, if at all?
I think that most artists, even if they maybe choose to do one thing at least one other thing that they like to do also in arts. I always loved taking photos as well and drawing. I had a conversation with one of my best friends, and I was in the social field, and I felt burnt out, and I was sad because I actually only wanted a day job to pay my rent and then do music. And I always was so, drained because of that job. And it was a lot of energy going into that. So I was at a low point, and I decided I needed another kind of job to be able to continue doing music the way I'm doing it. When I got this job in the gallery, that was really, really good for my music, I think, because it just gave me the space to go home after work and not have to think about anything else. And also the exhibitions are so inspiring to me. So I can know when I'm taking my rounds to see if no one is drinking in the gallery, just to see if all the pictures are still there. I can also have a look at those pictures, and it's like a conversation, an inspiring conversation in yourself. Like the music inspires the other things you do, and then experiences while you don't make music also inspire your music. So yeah, I'm really grateful I got this job for now.
What I'm hearing from what you're saying is there's a kind of an artificial separation between these categories, right? Art and music. I mean, there are certainly frames around them, but the categories are much more fluid. Right? So it's filmmaking and painting, for example, music. They're all kind of related somehow, I imagine. I don't do any of those, so this is just my imagination and listening to you all talk about your craft. Is that a good way for listeners to think about the relationship between these various art forms?
I think for many people, I would agree it's like that. I'm sure there's artists who focus merely on one thing as well, but at least in the scene, if we can talk about any of that.
Oihane, are you autodidact in the way that Joey just described, or do you have formal music education background?
I think for me, it's similar with Joey. I had some piano lessons when I never liked reading notes. It was very difficult for me because I could always um, remember the things from how they sounded, and then I would play them by heart. But as soon as I was, playing something wrong, or so I didn't know where I was on the page. So it's similar to what Joey is describing, and very fast I also understood that for me the piano is rather a tool to help me compose songs. I was more concentrating on the melody I sang and the lyrics. So I can very much identify with what you're saying, Joey.
Imagine folks who play music by reading the notes and flipping the page as they play the piano or something. I wonder if they have a different relationship to the music because it also gets mediated through the page. What you both are describing is it seems somehow more direct. It comes more directly through you and from you rather than this third party, as it were, kind of being in relationship with you two. How does that metaphor work? Do you think does it resonate?
People who read music and then they play beautiful, then I can see, okay, they need that as a vehicle to translate what's in their body, what they need to take out. It's almost the same as I only know if another piano, like even if it's a piano player who's a professional piano player, does stuff on it that I could never do, I would say that I can relate to that person a little more than I could to a violinist, because I wouldn't know how to transform what I have inside via the violin, same as I wouldn't know how to transform notes on paper into music, whether it's with my voice or with an instrument outside of my body. And so I think the only thing we can all relate to is that, okay, it comes out, like your way is maybe completely different, but I can hear that you have now what I listening to your music is a direct, comes out of you if it's, if it resonates with you. And I think that's also, for me at least, been very hard, but also great to learn in the last 2 years working with different musicians, is that I also, of course, work with a lot of musicians who really take music in differently and take it out differently because they either, because they play a completely different music instrument than me that I don't understand, or because they read notes and they know where they are. Like what Oihane was describing is the story of my whole childhood. It's like, I don't know where I am, like, and I don't really care, because that's really, there's a blockage between my fingers and the keys and looking with my eyes on a page. It doesn't work for me. It really doesn't. And as soon as I would close my eyes and I remember, there's the music, but for other people, it's the other way around. And it's wild to me. It is absolutely the concept that you can look at a page and then you play what's there and you've never played it before. I think it's almost like a magic trick. And I envy those who can do both. I know some people can do both, which is really cool. They can improvise and they can look at a book and they can read the notes and make it. But it's been hard to sometimes, people really, they ask me like, I would like to cover your song. And I don't know the notes. Yeah, there's technical stuff for it. Yeah, don't even come to me with digital stuff. I can half produce my own music. I know how to do my stuff, but it might not be the complete professional way, because also that is autodidact for me to, I've learned the tools to go about with the musical program and make my stuff, but I don't really know what I'm doing. But that's how it works for me. I kind of never really know what I'm doing, and that's how I learn the best. I think that is kind of how I tick as a person. And then you have other musicians that you work with, and you need to tell them and translate to them, this is the song, and all I can do is press play and be like, you hear it? And then they're like, yeah, I hear it. How do I play it? And then I have to really have people in the room who are like, I know what it is, and they can translate, they can hear what the chords were that I actually composed, and then they are showing it to another person on the piano, and the guitarist is like, oh, it's D and then F sharp, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess it is F sharp.
So I want to come back to something else that we touched on earlier. You both identify as Black and European somehow. How does that identification influence the way you play the music? But mostly I'm interested in your audience, right? Who cares about your music? Who loves your music? And how do you connect with your audience, given your identities? Like the Motown, in the early days of Motown, it was only Black folks who listened, but then it started expanding once, Berry Gordy built his empire and stuff. But it came out of Detroit, a very working class auto industry town, right? And then after years, we started hearing about the Supremes and the Temptations and Martha and the Vandellas, Marvin Gaye, right? So it started very local and then spread out. So your local is Berlin and Germany specifically right now, right?
Yes.
So how does that local, where you are, influence how you think about your music and your audience? Who are you playing to?
I'm playing to everyone who's connecting to that music in a way. But I can always sense a difference when I perform live. Who is the audience? Because I always feel like a live performance is kind of it's a togetherness with the audience. So the way I feel people are listening and also getting my words and feeling my words, I think it's informing how I sing. It's like it's a connection thing and an inspiration thing. So I think in different places, the more I feel safe or the more I feel this is my crowd in a way. Maybe other BIPOC people also, or even just people with similar principles, like, uh, who care about what's going on politically and all of that. So, yeah, I think this is influencing how I play, or this is the people I play for in the first place, but also just everyone, because I think that music is also opening a space where people can connect even if there's maybe differences in other areas of life, usually. Like it can go over barriers in a way. Yeah, sometimes I feel like the love songs I make, they're very universal. Like the people who are giving me feedback, it's just, it could, sometimes I'm like, am I too personal? This is very personal. Can I publish this? And then I'm like, yeah, but it could be the story of anyone, And then I dare to do that. Yeah.
Joy, any thoughts on this point?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things that you said, especially with the connection part. I think I sing about very personal things, but a lot of the personal things are universal, especially if we go to love songs, but also mental health. I mean, I've had twice the situation at different concerts where men, white, straight, cis men in their 60s came to me afterwards after I would sing Note to Self specifically, which I often end on in my set, crying because they connect to something, to that song, even though for me that song is about blackness and depression, and that is very connected. Obviously depression is not a black thing, but for me it's connected with my identity. I think my mental health and the phases I go through since I was a child, as I understand now as an adult, which is many times I'm depressed. That's a part of life and being alive for me. And so I sing about it. And it's been very refreshing, and also, I gotta say, admit, a little confusing to like have people who seem to be everything like the opposite of me and how they experience the world in terms of generation and body and everything. But then they connect with a song of mine because they're dealing with depression and mental health. And I think that's very beautiful. I mean, it's actually very touching, but I'm not going to lie, it's also a bit confusing, I think, but that has to do with my personal journey of definitely still in the middle of it, I think, my Black identity and finding it. In my specific case, I grew up with my white mom and my Black father from Ghana, who actually was a musician. He was a bassist, unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but he was a musician, and I met him when I was 19. And so only now more and more coming into my body, but I'm definitely not in there yet, if that makes sense. Like, I think because growing up in quite a wide environment in Amsterdam and then coming to Berlin in 2007, the first time when I was 19, Berlin really was a difference than Amsterdam. Like, Amsterdam is definitely more mixed in cultures and colors that you see. Even if you grow up in more white spaces, you, at least in the street, have, you have different smells from different cuisines. Like, Berlin was really very white when I came here in my experience. And then it just continued. The school I went to, the film school, like everything in my life was very white. And I don't know if you remember this, Oihane, but actually I think it was the first real conversation we had, day one that you moved into our home. I think we talked about it, and you said, oh, actually, I don't experience Berlin that white. And because you already then were further, I think, in the process of being or dealing maybe with your own identity as a mixed race person in Berlin. I had the feeling that that's how you came across to me, Oihane, because you were having way more friends and spaces that you went to. That also, we have to admit that there weren't that many yet. In 2007, they have definitely luckily grown. And I have to say, I have the feeling I see more Black people on the street than then. So I don't know if many people moved here. I really wonder this sometimes because I notice it. But so I think the first word that came up with your question for me is like loneliness. I feel very lonely because I think, coming from a place where, even though it's more mixed, my life wasn't really mixed. And then coming to Berlin, which was even more white, and then finding my voice in that, while not really, like, it's like almost like I want to say who I am, but I'm really not sure who I am because I really never was learned who I am, if that makes sense. And so I think for me, loneliness is a word that is very woven with who I am, and therefore I think in my music. And then we come back to the universal part, because I think even if you're white and man and cis and 60, I guess you can be very lonely, which is a very
Yes.
human thing. And I think then you
Yes.
come back to okay, I guess we can all connect. And even though I come with my own little personal backstory, why I sing the things I sing and why I went through the thing, you also went through your own stuff and you can connect with that. And that's super cool, learning that.
Really speaks to how music makes it possible to find
Yeah.
the universal, the essential across
Yeah.
all these covers
Yeah.
that we're all living with
Yeah.
the book covers.
Yeah.
What's inside the book, you can touch with the music. I'm trying to imagine this man who came up to you.
Yeah.
Loneliness, you said.
Yeah.
Depression, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
I think that's the power, the revolutionary power of music.
For sure. It's so cliche, right? But it's so true. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's sometimes the cliche things are a cliche for a reason. It's
yeah.
really that. It's really that. Yeah.
And they're made cliche as a way to trivialize its power, in my opinion. Like, oh, you're just talking cliches, but you're
Yeah.
talking truth. You're
Yeah.
talking a deep kind of truth that others, are distancing themselves from. So Oihane Joey said your experience of being Black person, mixed race person might be a little bit different. Can you just speak a little bit to that and connect to Joy's point?
I don't know if that's true what you're saying, Joey, because I think the reason I came to Berlin was that I moved away from Leipzig. I had studied cultural science in Leipzig because I actually never dared to study singing, what had been my dream, but I never did that. I realized I was living in the east of Germany. I didn't know what that meant before. Studying in Leipzig, and I realized when this Legida stuff came up, these right-wing groups marching through the city once a week and all of that, that really frightened me. And this is why I actually moved to Berlin. I had kind of this awareness that it was a necessity for me to connect with other Black people, and so not just for the music scene, but also for community, and not to feel lonely in this city and also in the world, in my life. So that was one of the reasons I came to Berlin. I think I was actively searching for those spaces. Yeah, that's maybe what you meant. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what I
Yes.
meant. That's what you said
Yeah.
to me. Like, it's not that white to me because I'm going to these spaces, right? Also, and I was envious because I wasn't ready. Like, I absolutely, like you recognized, that's what I need to do. Like, my life's too white. And I also didn't really meet Black people. I think all my connections were white people, basically. And then so you get recommended to other people and other spaces, and white people know white people. So then all of a sudden you find yourself in way too many white spaces, and you're like, what am I have to now actually go out and search for token Black people? That feels wrong. I mean, I was the first Black person in that 9 people communal space that we both lived in. Oihane was the second, and I think by now it's all Black, but that took 10 years. I recognized it, and I had and still have, I think, this complete imposter syndrome when it comes to that. I don't belong in the Black spaces, I don't belong in the white spaces, I'm not Black enough, I'm not white enough. All this whole, again, tension between those worlds and cultures. And I recognized it. I still do. I literally didn't dare to go to the spaces that Oihane was going to already back then. And I was really jealous of you, like in a sense. No, but like, because I admired you. I was like, wow, because you're a few years younger and 3 years apart or something. And back then it felt like huge. And I was like, how are you freshly in this city and you're all in these places? And I've been there already at that point since almost 10 years back then, and hadn't, done any of that stuff. Nor had I started making music, which you were also already doing and performing music. So I just felt always a bit behind, and I think that's also okay. I made a decision, or when I know what I want, slow person. I need a long time. Sometimes takes me 20 years with anything. So that's what I meant, that you seemed to be more already intertwined in Bert. You knew where to go. You knew which bars to go and who made music and stuff. Maybe I idolized it also a bit. That could be.
You did, yeah. I didn't know.
I was like, Oihane knows everything.
I am loving this conversation.
I think
love it.
there's such a beautiful thing about late bloomers. And I feel like a late bloomer in many ways too, especially in music. I'm 35 now, and I'm just starting to realize again, this is really what I want to do.
Yeah.
Even if it comes at a price, but I'm
Forever.
very optimistic in a
Okay,
way
good.
about that. Yeah. I think if you pursue what you're here for, if you pursue what is really meaningful to you, it's just the right way to go. And then the rest will just follow.
So I don't know if this is possible. Can we just sing something?
Sweet craving, it's hard to leave the feeling when all I wanna do is
be with
you.
you. I have the feeling that lately I've been dreaming. All I wanna do is be with you. But you don't see me, got better things to deal with. Guessing kissing isn't on your to-do
list.
And we've been walking and nothing else but talking, making yearning really feel like hell. Oh well.
What an ending. What an ending. The harmonizing on Zoom, no less, of my guests King Josephine and Oihane Roach, Afro-German composers and musicians of soulful sounds based in Berlin. Great example of tuning and listening to each other. In this program, you heard songs from Joey, Note to Self, and Sweet Craving. Sisters, Waves of Water, and Freedom Hymn playing in the background. That is the work of Oihane. To find their songs, go to Bandcamp and YouTube. Stay tuned to the next show on KPFA special programming for IWD 2026. Thanks for listening. I'm Margot Okazawa Ray.
And be free like the birds in the sky, free like the wind passing by, free like the rhythm that flows, free like we've always hoped, free like the children at play, free like the dancer that sways. We know it's the only way. No freedom till we can all say we are free. We are free, free. We are free. We are. I know it's needless to say, change won't come in a day, but with each sun rising, we rise up to make a way. There's a song in our hearts reminding us of who we are. From the spark in your eyes, I can tell there is hope at the end of the road.
American civil rights advocate and a scholar of critical race theory and intersectionality, Kimberly Crenshaw.
The moment that Clarence Thomas was finally confirmed, I said, this is going to change the rest of our lives. Luke said, all because they refused to believe a black woman. I call this a massive intersectional failure. When we look at some of the consequences of that failure, some of the long-term results of that, we've lost campaign finance reform on a 5-4 vote. We lost Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, 5-4 votes. We look at all the 5-4 votes that were made possible by that failure to believe Anita Hill, and we have to recognize that this intersectional failure not only impacts black women, not only impacts communities of color, it undermined the security and the democracy of the entire nation.
Storytelling for social change, only on KPFA. Thank you. Mil gracias. The fund drive is over. We didn't quite hit our goal, but KPFA is still here because you refused to let independent media disappear quietly. To everyone who donated, listened, or simply cared, thank you. These are hard times. That's exactly when we need fearless radio. Unbought, unbossed, speaking truth to power while late night gets canceled and the corporate airwaves fall silent. It's not too late. Thank you gifts remain available through Sunday, May 31st at kpfa.org.
You are listening to 94.1 KPFA, 89.3 KPFB in Berkeley, 88.1 KFCF in Fresno. Online everywhere at kpfa.org.